Hello, Dapper here. Get used to hearing me say that by the way, and welcome to the Terraria Pre-Hardmode movie. To put it simply, this is a supercut of my entire Terraria series thus far, from episode 1 to 7. It's going to be a long one I imagine, so buckle in. Get yourself a snack, a nice glass of milk, watch until the end, and sit back and relax, because the show is now about to start. Hello. Dapper here, and welcome to a game I've been waiting some time to talk about. This is Terraria. A game made by indie studio Relogic back in 2011, the 16th of May to be exact. Now, you're probably wondering. Hold your horses, what happened to DDLC? Well, according to Giraffe, some, shall we say, odd things happened. He's been asking about the name for the baby, he's honestly deluded at times. Anyways, sit back, relax, get yourself a glass of milk and enjoy. And make sure you watch until the end. Now that I've created a perfect likeness to myself, we're gonna name him, and get round to creating the best Terraria world on the platform. And for those curious, we're playing on the 1.4.5.6 version of the game. The bigger and bolder update as it's known. Meaning we get to see things like Chill It in Terraria. How exciting. For our world of wonders, however, it is a medium-sized world, on expert mode, meaning boss fights will be tough, but not ball-breaking like they are in master mode, or dare I say, inferior. I played Calamity once with a good friend of mine, and good lord it was tough. The Plaguebringer Goliath is the best boss on that mod though. Honestly, really excited to see what kind of world evil we got. I'm hoping for Crimson, since it does have some pretty cool weapons, and the vampire knives are a godsend for any melee player. But I wouldn't mind corruption either. Which reminds me, there will be a poll in the description of the video. Go to that poll, and throw your hat into the ring on what class you'd want me to play. Melee, Ranger, Mage, or Summoner. It's all down to you, viewer. And the world is ready. Let's start this party. Nice flat land, perfect for building. Let's do the first thing everyone needs to do in this game. Deforestation. Oh crap, leaf wand? On the first tree? I mean, it won't come in handy I don't believe, but hey, it'll be good for decoration. Since it turns wood blocks into leaves. Right, just a few more trees, and we should be able to build our first NPC hut for our guide to take refuge in as I explore the caves. Caves are going to be our best way of resource gathering, as they hold things like ore, life crystals to increase my max health, as well as loot boxes if I'm lucky. And now, for Dapper's tutorial on how to make a good NPC house. Here's what you're going to need to do. Firstly, you're going to want to make a box of wood, preferably 5 blocks high, and connected to each corner of how long you want the floor to be. Now, remove 3 blocks of wall closest to the floor. This is where your 2 doors are going to go later. so you don't have to go over your house to go to the opposite side. Now make a workbench, and with that, make 2 doors, 1 chair, and as many background walls as you need. All these materials cost wood, so make sure you've got quite a hefty sum of wood. Once you've placed down all of your items crafted, craft some torches. NPCs hate the dark, so place those torches on your walls to keep the house bright. This next step you don't really have to do, but since I was lucky and got a leaf wand, add a roof onto your house for a splash of color. Nobody wants to live in a boring house, do they? Accidentally broke down my own door. That was stupid of me. And there you have it. A Terraria house. Your guide is sure to be happy now. Now is time to actually explore the caves of our world, and get some good loot. Just a reminder, if you like these videos, and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out quite a bit, and it'll allow you to see more videos whenever I upload them. Thank you in advance. And there's a cave. How lucky that we got one close to spawn. We should be able to find some nifty things in there. Don't forget to break any pots you find. Ah crap, that music means we got the corruption on our coin flip. Ah well, a few pits won't be hard to navigate around later on. At least I hope not. But on the bright side, we did find this railroad track. Maybe it will lead to somewhere good, with an abundance of loot. Crap, it's dark. How the hell do I get out of this minecart? That's better. And hey, a life crystal. Fantastic. That's a 20-point increase to my health, and the nurse NPC when more houses are built. Now, to build my way out of this chasm. Ooh, there was some more on the roof of the track. Nice. Might as well grab that for later. It'll be important for prepping for later challenges. Nice. Silver ore. At least we now know that we didn't get tungsten. I'm not sure if tungsten is better than silver. I do know that platinum is better than gold, but not how those two stack up against each other. Let me know in the comments. Also, we just found an underground desert biome. We should not be here. At all. It is way too deadly for me, as I have no armor, and my strongest weapon is a copper short sword. I don't know what I was thinking here, but hey, we might prosper from the risk. That was a lot of silver. I'm going to have to try and grab it. Never mind. I'm booking it. It is way too dangerous. Never mind. My mother didn't raise a pussy. I'm gonna keep going. Oh crap. We're close to an underground corruption. That must mean the corruption is on both sides of the world. God damn it. Normally that'd be a new world to try again on. But I'm not gonna chicken out. All that means is more loot. Probably. Maybe. Most certainly. And after this realization, I duped a slime and found some gold ore. And after duking out even more slimes, I was back to the races, searching for more treasures. And treasures I found, with more gold ore. My third life crystal, bringing me up to 160 health. As well as even more gold ore, I was in a major abundance of good loot, not even mentioning all of the silver and lead I mined along the way. Now it was just a detour through the desert, and I could get back to exploring the right side of my world. That was if this didn't happen. Also, are you kidding? A sand ball? My first death in this playthrough, and it was to sand. Awesome. Just awesome. Well, at least the guide is enjoying his house. I mean, he has no choice but to. If it wasn't for me, he would be dead. Crap, I still need more stone for a furnace. Gonna make a weapon with a bit more power behind its swing. This wooden broadsword will do for now, until we get most likely one of the metal swords. Oh nice, a shackle, some defense for now, until I get an armor set that isn't wood. Since that would just be depressing if I made regular wood armor instead of a superior armor, like cactus armor. There we go, it's morning now. I wasn't gonna make you wait. We have exploration to do. I do wonder what's over this hill in the far away. You. Oh nice. We killed Pinky. We needed the gold anyhow. Now the merchant should be able to move in later on. I then proceeded to get chased out of the corruption with no hope of trying again until I got stronger. So in the meantime, I planted trees. Gathered the last bit of stone I needed. However, I did find the above ground desert, which means I can get cacti, which means cactus armor. And back at base, I built. And built. And wait, hold on. It's him. Yeah, I'm not doing it twice. Once was enough. Yeah, I killed Pinky, and you guessed it, more building. And there's our 3 Terraria houses. I didn't do much after this, so I'll cut to when all the NPCs actually arrive. Funnily enough, only the merchant spawned Lameo. So with the money I got from the 2 Pinkies, I bought a piggy bank for storage, as well as an anvil sickle. The sickle since it was an upgrade to my sword, and because it can gather hay, which is a nice decorative block for the roof of these NPC huts. And the anvil so I can make a hopefully better pickaxe and sword to replace the sickle with. I even built this decorative thingy with fences and a campfire. I don't know what I was trying to make, but I was most likely trying to make the base look more pretty. And to be honest, I'd say I've definitely succeeded in that department. This is one of my nicer looking bases. Granted, it could use work, but for now it's a home. Speaking of the anvil, let's see what I can make with the resources I gathered from the cave. And in order to do that, we're gonna need to smelt our collected ores into bars. Not bad on the bar haul. Now let's strike the iron whilst it's hot. And make some better tools. Honestly, I thought I collected more silver than I did. Granted, I did die whilst collecting it though. Lovely. An annoying gold pickaxe. At least it has more mining power than my copper one, I guess. Let's see if I can make any weapons. Most likely I'm making a lead sword. Lead is our most abundant material after all. Wow. That's a definite upgrade. A ruthless lead broadsword. Haven't even killed anything with my sickle and it's already been replaced. So yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. Don't forget to check the poll linked in the description of the video. As well as to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal. Hello, Dapper here, and first off, thank you to my lovely viewers for voting in the poll. Second off, I did a bit of off-camera grinding before the video. As you can tell, because we have our first summoner whip, the Cob Whip. It does 9 damage, and spawns in a little spider to help attack enemies for us. We also have ourselves some rudimentary armor pieces, as well as a sapphire hook for mobility. So we should be ready to plunge back into the caves without any form of trouble. You may have also noticed the gravestones I placed outside my house. Yes, those are from my multiple deaths in the caves, and yes, it is to try and get our first summoning weapon. That being Abigail's flower, which was added in the Don't Starve collaboration, and can only spawn near gravestones. So, I bet you're wondering, what are we going to try and do in this episode? Well, there are definitely a few things on my checklist. The first is to definitely get my hands on a better whip, as well as one of the only pre-hard mode armors in the game. That being the Flinx fur coat, which will grant us 1 extra summon, as well as a boost in our summoner damage. Had to get the money I lost from one of my previous deaths. The Cob Whip isn't all that strong, so I'm gonna have to try and get the materials for a better one. and the whip that I'm most likely going to get is the Soul Scourge. It's the corruption exclusive whip, and since my gold pickaxe can mine demonite, it should be pretty easy to craft. And after an embarrassing death to a cave bat, this will be a common theme. I managed to locate some demonite in the caves after I retrieved my money. I'll need 12 bars of demonite in order to make my Soul Scourge whip. This vein covers a third of that cost, which is very fortunate. However, I immediately suffered another bullshit death to the jellyfish. I did record this around like 2 AM at night, I believe. Nothing much was going on, and I wasn't all that tired. And this is definitely not me coping for my lackluster Terraria skills. No sir, not at all. Not so fun fact. The reason I was standing here is because I saw some big ass spider in my room as I was recording. It was a bit creepy to spot that at night and listen to the corruption music at the same time. It fucked off after I went to sleep however, so that's good. I did continue to find more ore across my journey, which was pretty nuts. Normally finding ore / remembering to mine ore I miss was one of my big problems with playing Terraria, but that's less of a game thing and more of a me being a dumbass thing. I then got sniped by a boulder as I discovered what I think was a diamond gem tree. So that's cool. Really cool. I even got killed by a bat on the way back to my tombstone. I'm starting to regret leaving my choices to my viewers. But maybe it'll pay off when I actually get strong. I did get a lucky depth meter after killing a shroom bat though. I mean, it's not much, but you have to appreciate the little wins after all. A bit more spelunking in the caves, and we managed to find the 5th life crystal we need, bringing us up to 200 health, and allowing for one of Terraria's many bosses to spawn in naturally. The Eye of Cthulhu. Our most worthy contender of being our first boss fight of our playthrough. That is if the slime rain doesn't happen beforehand. And some more demonite as well. It's a lovely surprise indeed. We're closer to getting the Soul Scourge. Might as well gather some obsidian whilst I'm here. And that other life crystal will come in handy. Don't even ask how this happened. I'm not even sure myself. You'll have to comment what happened. Was there a pressure plate I was unaware of or something? So after I involuntarily got back to base and smelted all of the ore that I had, I was at 10 demonite bars, 2 away from the 12 I needed for the Soul Scourge. Abigail's flower still hasn't spawned. It may be an unreliable method, but until we get the Soul Scourge I'm not sure if I'll be able to survive the corruption biome to check what lurks behind it. So I went back down into the caverns and picked up what obsidian was left from the explosion, as it will be useful to craft another pre-hardmode summoner set. The Obsidian Outlaw Armor. Which won't be possible until I've killed the Eater of Worlds boss. Which with my current gear was way out of reach. I also ended up finding an underground cabin. But unfortunately, I didn't find a good landing, and I ended up dying to full damage before I could explore it. Thankfully, I had enough demonite from my travels to craft myself the Soul Scourge. It deals 17 damage, almost double that my cobweb did, which I am very thankful for. I eventually made it back to the cabin and retrieved my money, and from the gold chest, I got myself a cloud in a bottle, which will allow me to double jump. All I need now is some Herm's boots and we have some of the best possible mobility for our first boss fight. I used a recall potion to go back to my base, as we have done too much exploration in the desolate caverns of the forest caves. It's time for a change of scenery. So we're going to traverse the corruption and hope that a tundra lies on the other side. Seriously, look at the numbers that the Soul Scourge is dishing out in comparison to the cobweb earlier in the video. The cobweb did 4 to 5 damage at most, whereas we aren't even going under the 10s in terms of damage with the Soul Scourge. We hit the jackpot with this weapon. Now all we need are a decent summon and the Flinx fur coat. Awesome. We managed to find a tundra. Let's see if there are any natural cave entrances, as it would be a pain in the ass to dig through the snow to get to the caves. And we did. Thank God. But now that we're here, we are looking for one enemy in particular. That enemy being the Flinx. They are small little bird animals that drop Flinx fur, which can be used to make our Flinx fur coat, as well as a summon weapon. The Flinx staff. Meaning that we should be in business once we've gotten 14 Flinx fur in total. A couple minutes in, and I managed to find my first Flinx. They drop around 1 to 3 Flinx fur on expert mode, so if we get that 3 Flinx fur every time, we'd only need to kill around 5. I'm very doubtful of my luck though, and I had all reason to be. I think I spent around half an hour in these caves looking for Flinxes. Not a Flinx, but we did manage to find a boreal cabin. Some pretty good loot in here too. Gold coins, a blizzard in a bottle and some spelunker potions are well appreciated. Found another chest. This one actually had the spawning item for Deerclops. Normally, Deerclops is meant to be the penultimate boss before you fight the final boss of Pre-Hardmode. But her loot is so pitifully bad that it's not even worth bringing to the fight. She can drop a summoner weapon though, so that might be nice. I then proceeded to get mauled to death by a flock of ice bats. Not really ideal, but whatever. So once I got my money back, I decided to start digging to free up a bit of space and find more Flinxes. There was quite a bit of fat on this part of the vid, so I'll get back round to you when some interesting stuff happens, or if I manage to find a cool weapon.
2 hours later.
Right, I've been looking for quite some time, and to give the rundown on what I've done, I've got around 10 Flinx fur, and Abigail's flower finally spawned. Meaning I've officially got my first minion summoning weapon. We are 4 Flinx fur away from getting the 2 items we need, meaning at the minimum we need to kill 2 Flinx, although I'm once again doubting my luck. I'm not going to bore you with my walk back to the ice cave. It was very uneventful, although Abigail is proving to be a valuable asset to my arsenal. She does 7 base damage with the ruthless modifier which I found her with. And she deals extra damage to any enemies I strike with my whip. Only a few ticks into the cave and it found a Flinx. Unfortunately we will have to kill a minimum of 2, as I said, but hey, it'll be worth it, since with the Flinx staff and fur coat, we'll become much stronger for the bosses ahead of us. And lord, another Flinx. I thought these things were much rarer. We are at 13 Flinx for now. So what the game did, is spit into my mouth and force me to find a 3rd Flinx. Which gives me a good opportunity to explain how their spawning works. So, Flinx spawn in the ice caverns. But they have a much rarer spawn rate on ice blocks. Meaning that they commonly spawn on wood, stone, dirt, slush, and ore deposits. Which means if I need any Flinx fur in the future, I'm gonna need to make a big farm underground. In fact, whilst I have your attention, I'm going to tell you about a movie I really enjoyed this month. Masters of the Universe. I saw it in cinemas. It was incredible. Nicholas Galitzine definitely had some big boots to fill when it came to He-Man's last live-action actor, Dolph Lundgren. But he nailed his role in the film really well. And hell, despite all of the bad shit Jared Leto has allegedly done, he played Skeletor really well. His more nasally sounding voice from the cartoons wouldn't have worked for a live action film where everything is more gritty and dark, so he did good. As for the plot, it's your classic good vs evil. Prince Adam gets sent to Earth by the sorceress as a young boy. He loses the power sword like an idiot and has to retrieve it, which he ends up finding, going back to Eternia, and ends up building an army of Eternia's greatest fighters, such as Mechanic and Man-at-Arms. It was a good blend of comedy and tragedy. Overall an 8 out of 10. Sad that it ended up bombing at the box office. If they decided to keep Jared's name hidden from any and all promotional material and left his name in the end credits, the movie would have done better overall. But back to the game. I finally found the last Flinx we need after a lot of searching, meaning we have enough Flinx fur to finally make my new weapons and armor. And after all this time, we can finally get to crafting. There we go. We've made the best possible armor we could have at this stage of the game. A strong whip, and we have a total of 2 summons. We are honestly decked out enough for us to fight a boss. Let me know what boss we should fight in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal. Hello, Dapper here, and welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 3, so if you haven't seen the last episode, go check out that one so you are caught up to speed. Been a while since I've said that. But anyways, we have a few goals on our hands today, and our main one of this episode is to find and kill our first boss. Terraria has 18 bosses total, not counting any event bosses, but we're gonna need some extra gear before we can fight our first. So sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk and enjoy. Oh crap, a gold worm? That's not really a rare find compared to other gold critters, but hey, it's still useful nonetheless. And a lucky clover too. That I don't know the chances of finding, but it's still really cool, as it gives us a boost to our hidden luck stat. So, one of our first objectives this episode is to at least make a start on a hell elevator, or a hell-elevator as some folks call it. And there's a really good way of getting there. It's not fast by any means, sure, but it'll be an efficient way of going into the caverns and the underworld without me having to make a hole myself. That method being one of the new pals added to Terraria from Palworld, Digto Eyes. What he does is pretty self-explanatory. You can tell Digto Eyes to mine for you, and he does it. He only has the mining power of a copper pickaxe though, meaning he can't break obsidian. Almost immediately I managed to find the golfer. Which, to be honest, outside of getting the achievement for all NPCs moving into your town, is pretty useless if you aren't going to be building anything cool. Granted, he does sell the golf cart, which is a pretty decent mount, but apart from that, not many people are all too enthusiastic about him. A few minutes of searching later, and I also managed to find myself a life crystal. Honestly, scarab bombs are really underutilized in this game by most players. The ability to instantly create a tunnel with a single bomb rather than multiple bombs is incredibly useful, and has really helped me navigate the desert caves without dying a lot easier. Oh sweet, a coin portal in a pot. That's 15 free gold coins without me having to kill a powerful enemy or boss. And dig toys? I'd say that's a damn well good desert exploration session. There was a lot of fat cut off from these sections, as it was mainly just me fighting or digging downwards. If that's more of an inconvenience, let me know in the comments. But now that we have dig toys, let me show you how he works. You summon him, and then you left click the direction and where you want him to dig, either to the sides, or down. He can't dig up, I don't think. Granted, why would you want him to accidentally dig into sand or silt and end up suffocating yourself to death? That'd be a bit stupid. But for now, if we just leave him to dig a hole, he'll eventually reach hell, or he'll just end up stopping when he reaches obsidian, which regarding my luck, will most likely be the case. Whilst he digs however, I'm going to build some more NPC houses, and for my next build, I'm going to build a mini fortress, similar to the ones from the 2D Mario games. Not only do I want to beat the bosses, I also want to try and improve my skills as a builder. Granted, I ain't not Fox, I won't be able to build a penis storage silo that looks as nice as his, but hey, he's only done 2 episodes, so we both have wins over each other. There we go. Not bad considering some of my past bases were just NPC hotels. But hey, it'll feel like a nice populated village once I start work on other houses. Speaking of which, I want to build something nice atop the hole that Dig Toys has kindly been making for us. A nice little entrance to the elevator to give it some life instead of it being just a giant pit in the middle of my town. Oh nice, the zoologist moved in, back in 1.4.4, if you wanted to get a whip without having to go to the jungle, you'd have to find animals and mobs for your bestiary, which is this game's version of a Pokédex, something to give you advice all or tidbits about mobs and such. You'd have to get about 10% of it filled for her to move in, so you could buy the leather whip. Thankfully, since 1.4.5 came out, the cob whip took the spot as the pre-boss whip, and the leather whip is now more of a novelty item if anything. It could be a nod to Castlevania, although the legitimacy of it, I'm not sure. There we go, my elevator entrance is built, and it looks really nice to be honest. I'd say I've gotten pretty good at building these past few episodes. Now that I've finished putting away all of my crap, I'm gonna check on the progress Dig Toys has made. Chances are he's hit obsidian and stopped. But hey, we might as well go and find out. So, he's dug his way into an underground mushroom biome? Not bad. We could find some good loot here. The best possible thing I could get at the moment is some Hermes boots, as that will allow us to sprint, giving us some better horizontal movement for bosses. Band of regeneration and a mushroom outfit? Not bad, but we still need Hermes boots. Well, speak of the devil, we actually found some, also. That means we can finally have better horizontal movement for pre-boss. And a compass? Not really asked about it, but it's a nifty find either way. Oh hey, it wasn't obsidian Dig Toys stopped at, it was demonite. I mean, thanks for finding me more demonite, but you still haven't dug down to hell yet. Recalled back to base, and honestly, I'm in the mood to go and find some sky islands, mainly for a horseshoe and a shiny red balloon, but if I'm lucky, I really wouldn't mind some fledging wings. They are really rare, but if I can get a pair of them, full damage and pre-hard mode vertical movement is basically sorted until I beat the final boss of pre-hard mode. First one, hoping for something good. And it's completely ass. The Celestial Magnet is the worst thing I could have possibly gotten, next to the Star Fury Sword, as none of them benefit me or my need for more mobility. Honestly, it's disgusting how much the corruption on this side of the world is so large. I'm gonna have to try and safely contain it, possibly after I get a lot more money for dynamite. So I can blow a giant ravine around the corruption, safely containing it. But enough about that for now, since we found a sky lake, very pretty, but it's useless until we find the angler, since he's going to want fish from certain biomes, these sky lakes being one of the possible biomes. Oh crap, oh god no. No 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 no. We can't have the jungle and the corruption next to each other at all. Absolutely not. No no. I'm sorting this out temporarily, since the jungle is going to be one of, if not the most important biome later on, particularly for boss fights. 3 boss fights are tied to this biome alone, which is frankly absurd considering the desert doesn't have jack shit in terms of a boss. Phew, glad I could sort that out for now. Granted, what I did was probably pointless in the grand scheme until we get more dynamite. But it's a fix, and it eases my worries. Back to looking for more sky islands. Yeah, I think I found them all on this sidle mayo. Sat, I couldn't find more. They were most likely higher up, but I can't be asked looking. So instead, I'm gonna go back into that jungle, since there are quite a few things I could use. The first being an anklet of the wind, so we can move faster, the second being a pair of feral claws, and the third being some resources to make a new whip. These materials are vines, stingers, and jungle spores. These will allow us to make the snap thorn. Granted, I'm gonna see if I can beat my first boss fight with the soul scourge, just to challenge myself. Found a natural cave entrance. Hopefully we can find some decent loot. Or at the bare minimum the resources we need for the snap thorn, as it will be paramount to have for any future challenges ahead. But hey, we found an aglet. That's given me some hope. And at least I don't have to go hunting for one later on. Oh crap. That was a giant beehive. One of the bosses resides inside that thing. A boss I am nowhere near ready to fight with just the soul scourge and my flinxes. They do way too little to compare to it. Which sucks, sure. But at least I'm playing it safe. So anyhow, I decided to light it up with some torches. A beehive this close to the surface will help out tremendously in the near future, as the boss gives resources perfect for summoners. To give a rather quick summary of what occurred in the jungle. I looted chests, none of which contained the 2 items I was after. I killed multiple enemies for vines and stingers. And I collected any jungle spores I came across. All of it collapsing in on me when I got blown up by a trap chest, which is perfectly peachy. I'll go retrieve my money, and then I'll be back with you in a tick. So, to make a long story short, I retrieved my money, sure. But then I immediately died to a skeleton soon after. And all of the coins I dropped ended up in lava. Which, to be quite frank, is very annoying. But hey, no use crying over spilled milk. It's about time we get round to building a proper arena for this boss. In the meantime, allow me to give you a rundown on what our arena is mainly going to consist of. First off, we're going to have 2 rows of platforms. This is so we have not only some room to run around and attack, but also to grapple onto for extra mobility. We are also going to have a few buff stations on our arena. The only 2 notable ones we have at the moment are campfires and heart lanterns, both relatively simple to make, with both providing a minor healing buff. I don't think I have to tell you how healing will be valuable in a boss fight. We'll also scavenge our chests to see if we have any useful, consumable buffs, such as iron skin potions for extra defense, swiftness potions for extra mobility, thorns potions for that should be obvious, and food items to give us an increase to our overall stats. This, combined with our good weaponry, excellent arena, and buff stations, should make this boss fight a piece of cake. And without further ado, I bring forth the demonic seer. There we go. We successfully defeated the Eye of Cthulhu. And from its treasure bag, we get a lot of demonite, its mask, corrupt seeds, as well as the shield of Cthulhu, an accessory granting us access to Dash. And since we defeated it, I will allow myself the privilege of making the Snap Thorn, an upgrade to the Soul Scourge, and the weapon I will be using against the next boss, whoever that might be. So, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Have a good one for me, pal. Oh, and as for the other two accessories I wanted, I'll just find them off camera. Hello, Dapper here. And welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 4, so if you haven't seen the last episode, or any of the other episodes in their entirety, go check them out so you are caught up to speed. But for those who did, we managed to beat our first boss, and made a new whip, the Snap Thorn. We do have a lot planned for this episode, so no more mucking around. Sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk and enjoy the show. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of our goals, let's pick up where we left off after the Eye of Cthulhu fight, and smelt down all of this demonite for bars. To be honest, summoners can't make much with demonite. The only thing that they can really make as a weapon is the Soul Scourge. Granted, any new weapon felt like a blessing for summoner mains, since the class was very bare bones before bigger and bolder. Right, so one of my first goals is to find a very secretive biome. For those unaware, on the jungle side of your world, if you dig down, until you come across an area mainly made up of stone, you'll find the Shimmer biome. It's a small area with a pond full of shimmer liquid. This liquid can do many things, such as uncraft your items, and even turn some items into completely new ones for the cost of nothing. Completely unrelated, but have you noticed this sick pal metal armor I bought? I was waiting for it to turn daytime before firing up the recording, mainly so it'd be easier on the eyes and such. But yeah, I bought this from the traveling merchant. It came in the Pal World collaboration. Looks really cool, and the little blue thingy on it glows in the dark, so you'll be able to spot me in hard to see areas, so that's a plus. Continuing on the whole Pal World theme, It's finally coming out of early access on the 10th of July. Honestly really excited. We're finally coming to the tree. And hey, I can't wait to see what this new PAL dualith can do. It's really commendable that Pocket Pair managed to ward off one of the largest names in the entertainment industry to keep their game afloat. Granted, even if Nintendo wins, they're only getting around $30,000 out of it, mayo. But that's enough about me glazing one of my favorite games. We have a task at hand. And that task is making it to the shimmer. And with Digtoys' help, we should be able to dig down quickly. Granted, if I made something like the gravedigger shovel in a graveyard biome, I would be able to get down there much faster, but I was a thicky dumb and completely forgot about it whilst I was recording. So yeah, that was stupid. So me and Digtoys got to mining downward to find the shimmer. Considering Digtoys had the mining speed of a copper pickaxe, and my gold pickaxe had a god-awful modifier, we took a bit longer than we needed to say the least. I personally think that Digtoys should scale to the power of whatever pickaxe you're using like some people think it does, rather than being kept at a crappy power to be swapped out later, since the novelty wears off the moment you get a post-evil biome boss pickaxe. I mean, we did end up stumbling across an enchanted sword shrine, which was pretty lucky. It's a good weapon, yeah, but since we aren't doing a melee run, it's pretty much going to be kept in the chest. I would sell it, but finding an enchanted sword shrine is pretty cool, and the coolness factor outweighs the money I'd get from selling it in my opinion. Speaking of, more options for weapon displays would be an awesome thing to see in 1.4.6, or even the patch they are going to be doing. Something like the enchanted sword shrine's display would be sick to display a cool weapon. Even better, we could have gun racks for rangers, a hook for people to hang their whips on, for things such as staffs, both mage and summoner staffs. They could share the enchanted sword display, with the tip of the wand being pointed up in the sky. Damn, WeLogic should hire me for these ideas. So once we made it underground, I looked around for quite some time, having no luck in finding this shimmer biome. I was in the right spot, the beach bordering the jungle. I thought that I would have needed to go higher, since there was a lot more stone on the ceiling, but that was wrong too. The only other option was to go further down. And once I did, I knew I finally made it to the shimmer. This area will grant us many more upgrades, and hey, that spare heart lantern and that golden worm I got during earlier episodes will help tremendously, since we'll be able to turn the heart lantern back into a heart crystal and chains, and the heart crystal into a vital crystal, which will boost our max regeneration. And the golden worm we can turn into a gummy worm, which will boost our fishing power. I made some basic NPC housing for some of the NPCs who don't have homes to move in. Those NPCs ended up being the dryad and the painter. But after I tried to climb back from accidentally jumping into the shimmer, the slime rain happened. Meaning one thing. A boss fight against the royal delinquent. Well, that was decently easy. A much shorter fight than the Eye of Cthulhu was. But hey, one of King Slime's drops actually benefits summoners. And no, it isn't the solidifier for the slime whip, which I will give an honorable mention, but instead is the mount, the slimy saddle, which actually deals summon damage. Meaning it'll benefit off of the perks that my armor gives it. Which is incredible. Here's a little visual demonstration on what the slime whip does. At the crack of the whip, it can set enemies on fire. It would have been decent if King Slime spawned before the eye, not Fox, but alas, I'll just display it in my crappy storage silo for now. So once I got back to the shimmer, I threw in a cabin pylon I bought to get the ether pylon, meaning I can go from here to my main base anytime I want once I've set up a forest pylon back home. There we go. Looks splendid, and it's the start to a somewhat probably complex pylon network I'll be certain to set up in the future, most definitely. Also, if you've watched this far into the video, do me a favor and leave a like down below. And subscribe if you haven't. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. After I set up my pylon network, I went underground to blow up a shadow orb. Mainly to make the goblin army able to spawn naturally. The first one has a 33.3% chance of spawning in each day. The event doesn't drop anything specific to summoners, but instead grants access to the Goblin Tinkerer NPC, which everyone has a love-hate relation with, since he's good for things like reforging, and he sells the rocket boots and Tinkerer's workshop, both invaluable items for progression. So he's cool, but costly. Right, so that blue fairy just killed itself to show me where my own loot is. Pinnacle of genius over here. So after witnessing an unnecessary death of a fairy, I made myself a bed and started sleeping, which would start my long, almost 4-hour grind to get a new summon weapon. The vampire frog staff, which can only be gotten through fishing during a blood moon. But it ain't that simple. You don't fish up the staff, you fish up enemies that drop the staff. The wandering eye fish and the zombie merman. Both are pretty tanky, and both can survive the shit I throw at it for long times, so I'll get back to you once something interesting occurs. Right. First blood moon. I ran all the way to my leftmost ocean biome and started to fish. Which I got jack all from. Even dying to wandering eye fish in the process. Granted, the staff only has a 12.5% drop chance from both the eye fish and zombie merman, which might I add, for a weapon people are most likely going to use up until the evil biome boss, is kind enough. Whilst I was waiting however, a goblin army spawned. Meaning that we can get the Goblin Tinkerer once it's defeated. The Goblin Army is a pretty lackluster event, only really bringing the Goblin Tinkerer for summoners, and that's pretty much it. It's crap for most of everything else unless you're one of the other 3 classes. I only died once during the event at the 70% completion mark, which for an event I'm honestly pretty crap at. I'm pretty proud of myself. After the event I immediately went to the jungle to go look for Gob-Eating-Key. I went to the jungle in particular for the increased spawn rate of enemies, which would up my chances of finding him sooner rather than later. After a bit I ended up finding him indulging in his favorite pastime. And once I freed him, I bought myself some rocket boots with the gold I had. I did end up buying a Tinkerer's workshop off camera during my long wait for a second blood moon however, so don't think I forgot about buying one. I made a quick pit stop back to base to get some wood, because I was going to make the goblin's home by the shimmer, mainly so he isn't crowded amongst all of the other NPCs. This is to keep reforging prices cheap, or as cheap as he'll allow them to be. Granted his home looked rather crap, but the only reason people put up with his bullshit is for his reforging. And money was decently easy to get at the time. I went back to base soon after, and made myself the axe of regrowth with the leftover jungle crap and a wand of regrowth that I had. It's a pretty good axe in all honesty, and the fact it only costed my copper axe for one that's significantly better, and replants a sapling whenever you mine a tree, is really amazing. I also made a basic arena for the next boss in the corruption, since I knew I would die if I fought it underground. And because dynamite was expensive and bombs would be tedious to continue throwing, an above ground arena was my best bet for victory. I do end up refurbishing it with campfires for some basic healing off camera. Eventually the second blood moon happened. I even had to build an entirely separate town just so it'd be easier to pylon directly to the ocean rather than walk all the way back or use the shimmer pylon. The angler also moved in, which is kinda cool. I did end up getting the chum caster from a knife fish though, still no vampire frog staff, which is a bit disappointing. I also died immediately on my next fish. So yeah, that was just awesome. I had to wait for 3 entire blood moons to fish up a zombie merman, kill it inside of my little safety pussy box to get the vampire frog staff, and I don't exaggerate when I say this. I was over the moon with excitement for finally getting this thing. All of my hard work finally paid off, and I now have a weapon to match my snapthorn in power. I got the best possible modifiers on both of my weapons, went back to base for buffs, and then it was time to face the tyrant of corruption. Wow, that was just extremely easy for my current loadout. I just did a victory lap with my second summon, so I'm going to end it here. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more of my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal. Hello, Dapper here. And welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 5. So if you haven't seen the previous episode, or the series as a whole, go check it out so you are caught up to speed. And by the way, you caught me at a pretty bad time. I'm currently in the middle of a blood moon. Which isn't very ideal intro weather if you ask me. We do have a lot to do this episode, so sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk, and I'll catch you when this stupid blood moon has subsided. So the blood moon hasn't gone away yet, but I did get the notification that a meteorite has landed. Which is brilliant. You might be wondering why, and I'll tell you. A meteorite means we'll be able to make one of the new whips added in 1.4.5, the Star Crash. Which sounds cool enough on its own, but it gets even better. Whilst it doesn't speed up attacking like the Snapthorn does, any enemy that I attack that my summons also attack, will cause a meteor to fall and do extra damage to the target. Which in my opinion makes it a very good upgrade to the Snapthorn. There we go, the blood moon's over. About time. Now we can actually get on to playing the game rather than waiting. We'll start with getting some better armor. Whilst the Flinx fur coat and golden armor pieces have treated us nice, they won't do us any good against anything coming up, especially some of the bosses we're gonna have to fight. So we're going to be retiring them for the Obsidian Outlaw set. Which as the name suggests, requires obsidian. Luckily our elevator did pass through a plentiful amount of obsidian. Similar to Minecraft, water and lava mixed together will make obsidian. So just removing each layer of obsidian will grant us a lot more. We'll also need this obsidian for a new material that we can make later on. That is once we've gone to hell. That's right. Actual hell. That exists in this game, and holds a plentiful amount of hellstone ore, which combined with obsidian at a new crafting station, the Hellforge, makes hellstone bars, which I will need to make a weapon that will replace my vampire frogs. Whilst the skeleton merchant is here, I might as well buy the artisan loaf, which when eaten, grants us a boost in how far away I can be from a crafting station to use it. To be specific, it will increase the range from 3 blocks to 4 blocks. Not really a decent upgrade by any means, but any upgrade is welcome, even if it's minuscule. I realized around this time that I was going to need a Hellforge in order to make the new armor, rather than it being made at a loom or at the anvil. Which was a bit bothersome, but necessary to make hellstone anyway. So I made myself a nightmare pickaxe to mine hellstone with, since you can't do it with the Reaver Shark like in the olden days, and I made my way down to hell. Basically, everything here is trying to murder you. Demons, bats, slimes, everything. Since we don't have a shadow key from the dungeon, the loot we can get from here is limited, but at least we can get hellstone. Which I got a decent amount of, or just enough to make the weapon I'm after. So once I got back to base, not only did I make my snazzy new obsidian outlaw set, but I also made my new summoner weapon. That weapon being the imp staff, marking our first ranged summon. Basically, what the imps do is they fly around enemies and spit fireballs at them, dealing more damage than the frogs, whilst also having a chance to set them on fire, dealing even more damage. I had to make a quick stop to gob-eating key to reforge my imp staff to Fabled, a summoning weapon's best modifier, so it can be as powerful as it can be. As well as to the ocean houses to swap out my Palm Beach platform for ice blocks. This is so that 2 new weapons, or should I say, pals, are eligible to spawn here. Cativer and Fox Sparks. Preferably, we are looking for the latter, since Fox Sparks is not only a ranged attacker, shoots faster than the imps, but with its ability called Huggy Fire, it can become a makeshift flamethrower, being the only summon weapon in the game capable of this. Only issue is, Fox Sparks is exceedingly rare, being a 1 in 200 chance, or a 0.5% possibility of showing up at all, with the possibility that it could be a Cativer, which is weaker, as well as a melee summon. It is relatively underutilized in comparison to Fox Sparks. So once I finished my platform, I set my spawn point to the ocean, and slept for it to turn day, because I would have some grinding ahead of me in the near future. In the meantime though, I decided that now was about time for me to get the upgrade to the Snapped Thorn. Which would mean I'd have to search for that meteorite that landed. We eventually found the unconscious man. This unconscious man is the Tavern Keep. This NPC will let us get 2 brand new weapons basically for free. But the thing is, we can't use them until we've beaten the event tied to them. The Old One's Army. Which comes from another crossover. This time with Dungeon Defenders 2. I ended up buying an Eternia stand, some Eternian crystals, as well as 2 sentry summons. The Ballista and Flame Burst rods. The Ballista rod is a no-brainer for any summoner worth his whip. High damage and piercing is incredible and I don't have to explain why. And whilst the Flame Burst rod is a bit less used, it still serves its usage as an explosive, fire-wielding sentry. Eventually, I started searching the right side of the world, and I definitely had a bit more luck, as the meteor was embedded into the snow biome. Normally you'd need an obsidian skull to stand on the meteorite and not be burnt, but since I'm not going to waste an accessory slot, I decided to just build atop the meteorite and safely mine around and gather it that way. Once I gathered enough, I magic mirrored home, made the chains I needed for the star crash, and crafted it. I knew just by looking at it that it was better than the Snapped Thorn. And what better way to test that assumption than an event? That's right buddy. We're doing the Old One's Army. Now, there are definitely some things you are going to need in order to properly do this event. First off, Even if you are a purist, i.e. someone who only uses their class's weaponry, it will be worth buying some of the weapons from the tavern keep with the free defender medals he gives you, even if it's only the ballista rod. That extra bit of damage could be the make or break of you winning this event. Also, you won't be able to summon the tavern keep exclusive sentries or willy-nilly. You're on the event's rules, not your own. You'll be limited to how many sentries you can place. Since enemies drop a limited amount of Etherean mana, you'll have to be a bit strategic on where you place your sentries, so I'd recommend having at least one platform above your main area of land for the event, mainly to place sentries on it, so they can deal with flying enemies like Etherean wyverns. In this tier of the event, which is tier 1, you won't have to worry about most of the enemies. The one that'll cause you the most trouble is definitely the Etherean wyvern. And that is for the sole reason that it isn't limited to the ground. Normally if you have a good enough defense, all ground enemies get cleared by your sentries. But since the wyverns fly up and over, your sentries will commonly miss, meaning you'll have to fight them yourself. But luckily for you, wyverns don't appear until wave 4 of the event, which is just before the 5th and final wave, meaning you should have a decent defense for other enemies to single out the wyverns. But now that I've given you some decent advice, it's time to knuckle down, fight this last wave, and face the final challenge the tier 1 Old Ones army has to throw at us, the mini boss, the Dark Mage. And there we go. We defeated the Old Ones army. And we actually got some defender medals out of it too. Granted, in order to have enough to buy the next tier of weaponry later on, I'll have to do this event a few more times, but that can be easily done off camera. We did get some pretty nifty upgrades out of the event, the first being the war table, which gives a buff to how many sentries we can place, increasing the number from 1 to 2. The next being the Squire's shield, which not only increases our sentry amount from 2 to 3, but also gives us a 10% boost to summon damage. This means I will retire the Shield of Cthulhu, which might be a bit controversial considering how good its dash is, but to me, the combination of the lightning boots and magiluminescence gives us more than enough mobility for now. Right, now for what I've hated the most, it's about time we wait for Fox Sparks to spawn, so I'm going to sleep until daytime, and I'll catch you at the ocean. This was about an hour in, and Cativer ended up spawning. I was not happy, considering how long it took for it to be the inferior weapon. I mean, I have it now at least, but still, Cativer is honestly really crap. And a few hours, yes, hours later, Fox Sparks finally spawned in. And I was ecstatic. Especially when I realized how strong it was, 31 damage without being reforged to Fabled. Which is incredible. Now there were only a few loose ends to tie up before we could tackle the next boss. So I reforged Fox Sparks for the best modifier. I fished for variegated lardfish so that I could make summoning potions, which grant 1 extra summoning slot. And I built an arena within the dungeon, which was one of the new dungeon designs they added in 1.4.5, which I'm very happy about, since they look really cool. Now all that's left to do is curse the old groundskeeper of the dungeon, and defeat his master, the guardian of the dungeon. we defeated Skeletron. One of my favorite fights in the game. Brilliant setting and fantastic design, mainly because I think skeletons are pretty cool. But anyhow, that'll be all for this episode. If you enjoyed it and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal. Hello, Dapper here. And welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 6, so if you haven't checked out the last episode or the series as a whole, go catch yourself up to speed before continuing with this video. But if you are all caught up, it's time we get cracking on with the episode. Sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk and enjoy. And make sure to watch until the end. Right, I'm going to be straight with you here. I haven't done much building, and considering one of the things I wanted to do was to get better at building, quote unquote, I'm gonna build some mini settlements on top of clouds. Meaning I'm going to need some sky blocks, such as, you guessed it, clouds. Which is why I'm heading up to the sky islands on the right side of my world. Some cheeky accessories would also be pretty nice, mainly the lucky horseshoe or fledgling wings. And hey, after a good start, we got the horseshoe. We can combine this with my blizzard in a balloon to make the white horseshoe balloon. Whilst we're here, I might as well collect the cloud blocks and other things I need. The second sky island I found was terrible. The chest contained the Star Fury, which whilst useful for a melee player, was shite for a summoner. I don't remember if I ended up selling it or not, but hey. We did end up finding this thing, floating on a balloon close to space. I don't know what to say about it. It's legit just one of the many slime NPCs, and not even one of the cool ones. But enough about that. Once I got back to base I began working on my build. 2 clouds connected via a bridge. These will be topped with golden brick houses for 2 NPCs to live in. The first being the Tavern Keep, and the next being whichever one I unlock next. I am planning on adding some ice to the clouds, similar to the ones from the Mario games. I don't do it this episode, but I'll be sure to get it done either off camera or in the pre-hard mode finale, aka next episode. To be honest, they definitely came out really nice. For how simple it looks, it has some charm. What do you think? Leave your opinions in the comments. So, since we're at the dungeon, I think seasoned Terrarians in the audience know we're gonna be getting the final pre-hard mode whip upgrade. The Spinal Tap. Ironically, it's also made with webs like our first whip, the Cob Whip. But it's also made with bones, only found inside the dungeon post-Skeletron. They are dropped by pretty much every enemy, angry bones, dark casters, librarians and floating skulls. The only enemy that doesn't drop bones is the dungeon slime, which no duh. I also managed to find some locked chests in the dungeon as well. Some of which did house some decent stuff. Not really anything that benefits summoners, sure. But if I ever do want to stop receiving knockback from enemies, the Cobalt Shield could be pretty useful, and the Shadow Key opens up a lot of loot from the locked boxes in hell. Again, most of it will most likely be sold, but any reforging money is useful at the end of the day. Oh nice, we managed to find a bewitching table. This will help us a lot in the long run, since the bewitching table will grant us 1 extra summon completely free, paired with the armor set we'll get later. And the summoning potions, the max amount of summons will be reached, which is 5 summons altogether. Not bad for pre-hard mode. Inside another chest, we found the Muramasor sword. Not really useful for a summoner, but hey, it can be sold for more reforging money. And in the last chest I looted, I ended up finding the magic missile, a common theme actually. There's no locked gold chests that hold any summoner weaponry. Which is fine since the Spinal Tap exists. Afterwards I went back to base and crafted the Spinal Tap with the bones I collected on my travels. It deals over 40 damage, which is nuts for a post-Skeletron weapon. Not to mention how fast it swings. It's genuinely incredible. I did try to get the legendary modifier through reforging it through the goblin, but the robbing bastard took all of my money. So I ended up uncrafting and recrafting it through the shimmer instead, which worked out a lot better, and was much more cost effective for the price of it being time consuming. I did magic mirror home soon after, because I needed to prepare for the next boss, which I'm gonna let you know, I think I over prepared for this boss. I got every buff I needed, regeneration potions for healing, iron skin for defense, summoning potions for that should be obvious, as well as a burger for the exquisitely stuffed buff, which gives a boost to my stats. Then I made my pilgrimage to the jungle, because there was a certain matriarch that needed to be abdicated from her throne. The Queen Bee. A boss that I definitely thought would be much harder. But she has less health than Skeletron, which was a bit surprising for me. So I made it back down to that beehive and started to convert it into an arena for Queen Bee. Nothing too special, mainly just a layer of honey at the bottom to dip into and receive a small healing boost. But without further ado, let's take down this insect. Easy shit. After Skeletron's less than fun fight, Queen Bee was a really nice refresher. In fact, she was so easy, I decided to go kill some hornets for their stingers, to make the abomination, so I can summon her in again and fight her once more. My buffs were still active at the time, so I might as well get the full usage out of them, right? So afterwards I teleported home and crafted two things. The first of which being my final armor set for pre-Hardmode, the Bee armor. This armor grants us 2 extra summoning slots, combined with the default one, plus the bewitching table buff, and the boost from summoning potions. It brings us up to the maximum total of 5 summons for pre-Hardmode. The second thing I made was the Hornet Staff, and to be honest, for a weapon people are going to make either pre or post Skeletron. It is really bad for what it is. The imp staff is obtained earlier and does double the damage. If the weapon was found in things like jungle chests before someone could kill their first boss it could be possible, but post Queen Bee? It's in definite need of a buff, and it isn't even funny. So anyhow, I began to make my way down to the snow biome to fight my next, and penultimate boss. That boss being Deerclops. And I'm going to admit, Deerclops actually managed to kill me. But that begs the question, why tell you this instead of showing the winning attempt? Well dear viewer, Deerclops isn't like other bosses. He doesn't despawn when you die, and he's the only boss to do this. Meaning I mishmashed both my attempt when I summoned him in, and the attempt when I got back from my walk of shame. But enough about that, I'm actually going to give my full thoughts on Deerclops. So, expert/master mode Deerclops. Yeah, he's pretty ass. And it's all due to one attack. The Shadow Hands. Deerclops was designed around how his actual Don't Starve boss fight works. You go in, smack him a few times, and get out of the way before he can hit you, which is why his legs don't hurt you if you run into them. The Shadow Hands sporadically spawn in, and muck around, and sometimes punish you for fighting the boss how it was designed. Which is kinda crap. Which is why I actually think his classic mode boss fight is a lot better, since they lack the Shadow Hands. If they wanted to give him something more fitting, they could have given him his laser attack from his Winter's Feast appearance. Maybe if you keep away from him for too long, he'll give you the incentive to square up to him, and fight him how he was meant to be fought. But that's enough of me yapping. Let's see the fight in action. And that was Deerclops. Honestly, if there was one thing to give to the guy, his sprite work is incredibly clean, and he translates ridiculously well into Terraria's art style, vice versa with the Eye of Terror and the Twins and Don't Starve. One of their best collabs they did. I don't hate Deerclops as a boss, I respect it, it's just the shadow hands. We did actually manage to get the houndiest shootiest from him though, as well as my favorite item added from the collaboration, Chester. He follows you around, and he shares the inventory with a piggy bank, which is really useful. Just sucks you have to fight Deerclops for him. But hey, a worthy item needs a worthy challenge before it can be used. I didn't do much after Deerclops in all honesty. All I really did was go back down the beehive to build 2 NPC HUDs for the Clothier and Witch Doctor. This is so I can get the jungle pylon, but not only that, I also purchased the imbuing station from the Witch Doctor. Meaning we can make flasks that can give elemental properties to our whips. Granted, the only flask we can make at the moment are flasks of poison, which render our hornets completely obsolete. And with that, I believe that's a good note to end the episode on. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because we all know who's next. Hello. Dapper here. And welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 7, so if you haven't seen the last episode or the series as a whole, which I recommend you should if you've just skipped to this video, go check them out so you know how I got to this point. But if you've already seen the other 6 episodes, you are free to stay and continue watching. We don't have many things left to do for pre-hard mode, pretty much just some loose ends that need tying up before we tackle the final boss. Sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk and enjoy, and make sure you watch until the end. Right, to be straight with you here, there's really only one thing I need to do before we fight the final guardian of pre-hard mode. And it's not even that bonkers of a task. All we need to do is find a spider cave, and get a pylon network set up there. Spider caves aren't all that common in Terraria, but you should know where to look. They spawn in the cavern layer of the underground. There are 2 things we want from one. The first being the stylist NPC, not for her actual uses, just so we can have an NPC to be the first half of our pylon network. The second thing will be later in hard mode. We did end up tunneling into a desert, where we found another Digtoise. Thank God I found the first one way higher up in here. As well as a small marble biome, which I wish Relogic did more with. Mods like Thorium made the marble biome a necessary place for progression, mainly with the berry champion boss. Just think it would be cool if they went full circle with the Greek theming as they did with the enemies. I did find this abandoned cabin along the way. It didn't have anything too grand. The notable things were the flare gun and the money. Eventually I did find the spider cave. It was relatively small, so I unfortunately had to make do, especially with how long it took to find this one. So I set up some NPC housing, found the stylist for the first half, and moved the demolitionist in for the other, considering he hated our town, the ungrateful turd. Now all of this begs the question, how will we farm spiders? Towns get rid of enemy spawns. Well, that's all thanks to the shadow candle. This nifty little trinket disables that effect, which is good for me because I'll need spiders later, but bad for the NPCs probably. I'm not sure if spiders know how to open doors. Anyhow, once I got back, I started preparing buffs a little early. I did make a lot more buffs off camera later on. I won't go through what each of them do individually, so I'll just point out the notable ones. The first being the Golden Delight. You can only make this using any gold critters, which I had to have, a golden worm and a golden squirrel I caught in a bug net. It gives you the exquisitely stuffed buff for a whopping 48 minutes, almost an hour of boosted stats. There's also the calming potion which decreases enemy spawn rate, as well as any shadow chest potions I found off camera. Those potions being inferno potions and life force potions. The former creates a damaging field of fire around your character for 4 minutes, basically acting as extra last minute damage. and the latter increases your max health by 20% for double the time, bringing us from 400 to 480 health going into this boss fight. After I got done organizing my buffs, I started to build my highway in hell. This is one of two viable methods in fighting the boss. The other would be a bit difficult to explain without spoiling how the boss works for new players. Anyways, this highway will also be useful for any farming I have to do later on, which is a pretty nice bonus in all honesty. Being able to easily explore hell is a huge benefit. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, it would be really cool to show your appreciation through a like, as well as subscribing if you haven't already. We're nearly halfway to the big 100, and it would be awesome to have more people to join me on my Terraria journey. Thank you in advance. I decided that I'm going to primarily make this road out of ice bricks, mainly because it is a pretty nice contrast to the gloomy reds and greys of hell, and because I thought that they'd make me go faster, similar to regular ice blocks, which they did not. And watching this back makes me feel stupid. It does look a lot more pretty than if I were to use regular ice blocks though, so that's a plus. Anyways, I'll get back to you once I finished making the highway. Hey, that didn't take too long now did it? Well, it didn't for you. This was like, I'd say almost an hour's work for me building it. We've got all of our buffs ready, not to mention I did grind the Eater of Worlds and Queen Bee for the extra reforging money, so all my accessories are in top shape. Let's get this party started. Jesus. That didn't feel easy at all. This isn't me being sarcastic, that actually felt really challenging in the moment. But we did get the weapon we wanted out of this, our first hard mode summoner weapon, the firecracker, as well as a mage emblem we can shimmer into a summoner one. And on top of all of that, a 6th accessory slot thanks to the demon heart. This has overall been a very successful video. Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry if this was a short one. There wasn't much left to do in pre-hard mode. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal. Wow. Those episodes must have been nice to see. Either that or you fell asleep during the video. Either one is fine. But now we've reached the end. Thank you for watching. And I can't wait to see you all in hard mode. Have a good one for me, pal.